Thank you for delaying the start of the meeting. I think we're ready now.
Sure?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's 5:20. We'll get started. We'll run a few minutes late. This is the November 13th, 2014 meeting of the Jefferson City Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Chris Jordan, and I am the Vice Chairman of the Commission. We will start. We've got a limited staff here this evening, but we will go around and we'll let the members and anyone else from city staff introduce themselves. So, Michael, if you'd like to start.
Mike Lester.
Dave Nunn.
Dale Vaughn.
Jack Deacon. Chris Yarnell.
Kevin Thanen.
Shane Wade, city staff.
Eric Barron, city staff.
Janice McMillan.
Jeremy Cover, Law Department.
All right, that's everyone we have here tonight, so thank you. Procedural matters, the city code requires 9 regular members and 3 alternates. Alternates are designated to vote upon the absence or disqualification of a regular member. A quorum of 5 members or alternate is necessary to conduct business. I do believe we have a quorum tonight, just barely. The following regular members are absent. Dean Dutoy, Bob George, Bunny Tricky Cotton, who is an alternate, and Ron Fitzwater, correct? Okay. Dave Nunn, who is a regular member, has indicated that he will be disqualifying himself this evening. Is that correct, Dave? I think Dave is able to stay up here and discuss the matter, but will not be voting, correct?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. The cases that we have tonight is case number P14018, 620 West McCarty Street. It's a rezoning from PUD, Planned Unit Development, to C-2, and a comprehensive plan amendment. That is a city-initiated request, and I believe, Eric, you will be?
Yes, I'll represent that case.
Okay. We have no correspondence regarding this case, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Format of the hearing, Eric, if you will read the format and the order of testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I would like to briefly describe the procedures of the Planning Commission. The proceedings of the meeting are being recorded, so I ask that when you speak, please step to the microphone and give your name and address for the record. For the case, after a brief introduction by city staff, the applicant and applicant's consultant advisors could explain the project. Actually, will be representing this case, and we'll try to keep our opening presentation limited. Anyone else who wishes to speak on the case is given at least 3 minutes for testimony. We will then ask to hear from supporters of the request, and we will then ask to hear from any opponents of the request. We will then ask to hear from anyone else who wishes to speak on the request. And again, the testimony from supporters, opponents, or other interested parties shall be limited to 3 minutes each, and any rebuttal testimony limited to 5 minutes unless additional time is granted by the Commission. And city staff will then describe the proposal and make their recommendations on the request. In order to reduce the time necessary to hear an application, the reference to printed material, including the staff reports, applicable findings, ordinances, and/or statutes, shall not be read into the record unless directed by the Planning Commission. The Commission will then close testimony from the floor, and the Commission will then discuss the proposal and then make a motion on the request. And the motion, the form of the motion shall be positive. That is, the motion shall be made to accept the request as presented or with any modifications, stipulations, or conditions, and a final vote then be taken ayes in favor, nays opposed, and the chairman shall announce the results of the vote, specifying the number of votes cast in favor and the number of votes cast against. The following documents are entered as exhibits for all items under consideration at this meeting: the City Code as amended, the Comprehensive Plan and Land Use Map, copies of applications under consideration, a list of property owners to whom notices were sent, the affidavit of publication of the public notice in the newspaper, copies of drawings, plans, and/or renderings under consideration, letters or memoranda from staff, the staff reports, minutes of proceedings, letters, photos, memoranda, or other materials submitted by the public or the applicant, and the rules of procedure for the Jefferson City, Missouri Planning and Zoning Commission. These items are all public record and are available for inspection of the Department of Planning and Protective Services or through the Office of the City Clerk. And please be advised that any items that are presented or otherwise received pertaining to the case under consideration become the property of the Planning Commission. This includes any photographs, drawings, renderings, petitions, and letters. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. With all that being said, we need to see if we can get a motion regarding the agenda this evening.
I'd move we adopt the agenda as presented.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Ann has been nice enough to provide us with the minutes from last month's meeting of October 9th. I don't know if we've all had a chance to look through those, but if you'd like to take a minute and look through those, or let us know if there's anything that needs to be changed. If not, I will entertain a motion. I do.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. I think as we mentioned earlier, Eric, we have no communications regarding this evening's agenda item.
That's correct.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to case P14018, 620 West McCarty Street. It is a rezoning from PUD to C-2 and a comprehensive plan amendment. Eric, I think you're going to take care of all that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. First, to orient you to the location of this request. Up on the screen is a location map with also the zoning districts laid on top. Let's see. You'll notice this is on West McCarty Street. You'll see Missouri Boulevard and West McCarty, the intersection located there toward the bottom of the screen. Just off the bottom right-hand corner of the screen would be the Truman Building and Capitol Plaza Hotel. And so we're kind of on the edge of downtown. This is Wares Creek, kind of flowing through the middle of the screen here. This is a piece of property owned by the city. It was formerly a bus station and has sat vacant for many years. The city is in the process of basically disposing of the property, and a willing buyer has stepped forward and negotiated a sale of the property with the city. There is a development agreement that has been agreed to in principle regarding the sale of the property and what would ultimately be built on the property. But first, the current zoning of the property is a PUD, a planned unit development, as with much of the area just to the west of the downtown area is zoned PUD, including a good portion of the mill bottom, state parking lots, etc. You'll notice that just across the street there is some commercial zoning, both the C3 central commercial zoning, and then also the C2 general commercial district located just across the street from the property. And I do have an aerial photo to give you a little bit better idea of what is on the property. It is a bus station building with a small parking lot located out in front. The intention of the future property owner would be to transform the property into a restaurant, building a building addition onto the existing building and turning it into a restaurant, including construction of a parking lot. The development agreement that I mentioned contains a number of items, basically obligations for the buyer of the property to develop this property in a certain manner, obligations that might not necessarily fit well into, for example, a PUD plan that many of you are more familiar with, but certainly the council has the power and authority to put into an agreement. For example, some of the items that are contained in the development agreement is to construct a restaurant, including the parking facilities, to spend a certain amount of money, in this case upwards of $200,000 to $250,000 improving the property. and accepting it in an as-is condition and managing the restaurant directly through him or his family members, and beginning operation of the restaurant within 2 years and employing at least 15 people. And really, I think the intention here is for the city to dispose of the property and do so in a manner that would be a benefit to to the community, rather than just, for example, paving it over and putting another parking lot there. Anyway, that's a little bit of the backstory. Again, those are items that are for consideration at the council level rather than at this level, but may be relevant to this case. The specific request for this is to rezone the property from its current PUD status to one of the standard commercial zoning districts. It was originally proposed as a C2 zoning, the general commercial zoning. Really, the reason there is so that the future buyer could develop the property without having to bring forward a PUD plan for consideration after he purchases the property. In other words, being guaranteed to be able to develop the property in a manner that he intends to, rather than putting that development plan in front of a body for public public comment and approval after he's purchased the property from the city, with a development agreement already in place regarding some of those things on how to develop the property. You'll notice in the staff report that actually do propose a slightly lower district, the C1 zoning district. But first, let me cover a few other items. There's also a comprehensive plan amendment that is proposed. Up on the screen is the comprehensive plan development plan map for this area. You'll notice that much of the mill bottom and of course the state parking lots are categorized as a public and semi-public use within our comprehensive plan. Essentially, in order to support the commercial rezoning of the property, the proposal would be to designate the property as intended for commercial use. There is precedent, of course, because there is a large amount of commercial property just to the west of this particular piece. The black area located here is a set of train tracks, and you'll see it's kind of hard to read that it is designated as transportation. I think the cartographers of that time did not necessarily follow the property line, so there's a small portion of the property there. But the proposal is to designate the entire property as commercial, and then to rezone the property to one of the commercial districts. Looking at what's contained within the development agreement, and I do have a couple pictures of the property. This is the bus station, and this is probably a better view because it does highlight that the Capitol is very close by. And so one of the items that sometimes comes up when speaking about the downtown area is the desire to keep tall pole signs, freestanding signs that are very tall, out of the view shed of the Capitol. And the standard C2 commercial zoning district would allow for a 32-foot tall pole sign. With that in mind, city staff we are recommending that a C1 zoning rather than the originally proposed C2 be considered by the Planning and Zoning Commission in order to, again, allow this property to be developed by the future buyer. There's a number of items outlined within the staff report. It is worth mentioning that the property is right next to Wares Creek and is located in a floodplain. There is a 100-year, what we refer to as the 100-year floodplain on the property, and the development would have to meet the floodplain requirements. We've looked at it pretty closely and do feel that the property or the future owner could develop the property in accordance with floodplain requirements. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. The future buyer is here if there are any specific questions regarding what he intends to do with the property.
Well, Eric, I might start with a question. If this is a city-initiated request, I guess I'm a little bit confused where we start out saying we're requesting it to be C2, and then in the staff report we're coming back and saying you'd prefer it to be C1. So I guess if you could explain to the commission, is that ultimately what we're looking at, is we do want it at C1?
Well, it's certainly up for discussion, and that's you know, if there's, yes.
Okay. So the C1 zoning would allow for the proposed use. The C1 zoning would be in conformance with the existing development agreement, correct?
Yes.
The C1 zoning would then ultimately limit the sign height and things like that that you had discussed earlier.
Yes. That is really the only reason for proposing a C1 rather than C2 is the signage height.
Maybe this is a dumb question that I shouldn't ask, but if we have a development agreement, couldn't that have been a stipulation in the development agreement?
I'd probably refer to our law department.
The zoning wasn't addressed in the development agreement because it was a known factor that it was coming before this body, but other than that, it was not addressed in the development agreement.
And if, Eric, if you would go back to your map showing the zoning of the area. I'm worried that we're spot zoning. And if there's stipulations in the zoning code regarding what you need to zone something to a certain district, has that been addressed? Is there a certain area that you have to have a C1 zone or something like that? And I want to make sure that we're not overlooking something here in spot zoning.
If you give me just one moment.
I have a question for Janice, if she wants to answer it. Can she? Janice, if we were to do, let's say, a C2 zoning and just put a stipulation on the sign, is that possible?
No.
No. Okay.
You can only put, the planned district is the only district that allows the approval of signage.
Again, sorry for the delay, but thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, there is a restriction on the size of the C1 district of 1 acre. It has to be a minimum of 1 acre. And so it would be in conflict with our zoning code because this piece of property only consists of 0.75 acres and there's no adjacent C1 zoning district. So it's kind of a technical conflict because there is commercial zoning right across the street, but nevertheless it is a conflict. Our concern about the sign height still stands, and we've consulted with the law department and expressed our desire to fit the maximum sign height, basically the sign regulations of the C1 district, into the development agreement, and thereby protect the skyline, which is our primary concern regarding this development. We are still proposing that a rezoning occur, and for that rezoning to be a C2 district, which would be an expansion of the existing zoning across the street.
So in a sense, we're going to rezone it to C2, potentially. That's what we're requesting now. And that a part of the development agreement would restrict the sign height?
That's what we as planning division staff are requesting of the law department to fit the sign height into the development agreement, and the future buyer has expressed his willingness to do that.
Do you think that covers the downtown area? I agree with the sign height. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I just didn't want to be in conflict with our rules and regulations about district size. So I agree with the sign height and all that. And Jeremy, you're saying you feel that this will cover the city so that we don't have issues of a big sign down there next month or down the road?
Yes, if the concern is about sign height, then we can incorporate that into the development agreement so that that is addressed at the C1 standard instead of the C2 standard.
And that would be transferable?
Yes, that will go along with, that would be a deed restriction on the property.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Any other questions for staff?
I have questions. I don't know if this is now or after we close testimony, but
Depends on who you want to answer it.
why now? This building sat here for so long and all of a sudden we're going to sell it? It caught me blindsided. I thought there'd be at least a little more discussion and I just think it's an absolute shame and an indictment of this community, or not this community, the way this governing body of Jefferson works, that that building has sat there that long and nothing has been done about it. We have a visitors bureau that's paying money up on Jefferson Street. They could go down there free. We have I think a tourist department in the Capitol, I'm not in Capitol, on Truman Building, hidden in there somewhere. That could go down there. This is the entrance to our Capitol. We've already let Weirs Creek look as ugly as can be. Nobody wants to do anything to that. We talk to death. Usually we'll discuss things ad nauseum. This one, all of a sudden, let's just sell it right now. Nobody else wants to buy it, and put a restaurant there, which I like the restaurant. I have no problem with that, but it's just a piece of property that's going to be entirely different than the rest. It's not even spot zoning, it's spot planning all the way around. I think we'll just let it lay, put it out for public discussion, see if other people have other uses for it, and not just sell it. Give away one more piece of our entrance. We're already at just flat parking lots in ugly Weirs Creek. Now we're going to have a restaurant and flat parking in Truman Building. Maybe I should have waited till we closed testimony, but I have something else to say probably then.
All right. Thank you, Jack. I'm sure city staff has looked at a lot of things and discussed it with folks, so hopefully we're doing the right thing. The request before us tonight is whether or not we want to rezone it. We'll let them deal with how they want to dispose of the property. Is there anyone else on the commission that would like to speak to staff? Seeing none at this point, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak this evening?
Yes, now.
Okay.
I like to develop a place, I've been doing for 2 years. If it's that
If you'd like to come up and give us your name.
this is not today. This has been, okay, my name is Alex Mastrogiannis.
Okay, give us your address, please, sir.
2125 Missouri Boulevard.
Okay.
Alexandra's Restaurant. Some of these people, they know me, some of them don't. I've been here for 40 years, and I think this is not today. I mean, this has been 2 years. I offered back 2 years. It's going on for 2 years, you know. And I passed different kind buildings, you know what I mean, like West Pizza or whatever, you know what I mean. I like that place, and I think I'm going to do it good for the city, and like I do for 40 years here. And I don't see any reason not to, you know. I mean, what else you want to do over there, you know? I make the place look good, you know. I like Alexandros. If anybody knows Alexandros, you know.
Yes.
And that's what I ask, you know.
Okay.
And I wait for 2 years. You know, this is going on for 2 years. If some people they know, some people they don't know. So I don't know what else I'll say. You know.
Okay.
I mean, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Any questions?
I mean, anybody ask me anything, I can answer.
Thank you. Appreciate
Or
it.
whatever the city asks me, I do it. So, or whatever.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Anyone else that would like to speak?
If you could go through the formal
Okay.
announcement of favor, opposition, and anyone else.
Okay. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of the request? Seeing none. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of the request? Seeing none. Is there anyone who would like just to speak regarding the request? Seeing none. At this point, we will close testimony. And Eric, we will let you give your staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. There is the written staff report, which I'll refer to for the recommendation. As mentioned earlier, it is the property is partially in the floodplain, and there might be some challenges to developing the property, but with a good design, I feel those could be overcome. The requested rezoning would allow the development of the property without having to have a specific approval of the development plan, thereby allow the property owner to purchase the property and move forward with his plans. Given its somewhat isolated location, you know, the PUD, any type of design guidelines that you know might be considered for the property, there's really nothing else around it to look toward in terms of looking for a specific design. So really the design any type of design standards that could be factored into a PUD plan really have less relevance in this case. Except for, of course, the scenic view of the Capitol building, with working the signage issue into the development agreement. I feel that the C2 district would be appropriate for the property. It is right across the street from existing C2 zoning, and would recommend approval of both the comprehensive plan amendment and the C2 zoning rezoning request. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do any of the commissioners have questions for city staff? Seeing none, is there any discussion regarding this request at this point? Seeing none. Eric, do you want to do this in 2 motions? And if you do, which one do you prefer first?
2 motions, please, with the comprehensive plan amendment first. Thank you.
Okay, with that being said, if there's no discussion, I will entertain a motion if someone would like to make that.
I will make a motion to approve the request to designate the property as commercial on the development plan map of the comprehensive plan.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, we're going to do a roll call.
Jack Deacon? No. Mike Lester?
Yes.
Dale Vaughn?
Yes.
Chris Yarnell?
Yes.
Kevin Bainan?
Yes.
Eric, we have a 4-to-1 vote. Do we need vice chairman to make a decision, or is that?
No, it's majority passes.
Passes, you don't need my vote?
I'm sorry, what?
You do not need my vote, or you do?
That's correct. We do not need you do not need to vote. There's not a tie. The motion passes 4-1.
Okay. Motion passes 4-1. Next, we'll move on to the rezoning, and as Eric said, that they are going to look for a motion from the PUD to C2, and we'd like that in the form of a positive motion and let the votes decide. So if someone would give us a motion.
I make a motion to approve the request to rezone the property from PUD to C2. Do I have to do both of them? Or
No.
just one?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Would you like to take a vote again? We're going to have a roll call again, please.
Jack Deacon,
No.
Michael Lester,
Yes.
Dale Vaughn,
Yes.
Chris Yarnell, and Kevin Payne.
Yes.
And then
Motion carries as well. Eric, in keeping what we normally do with the commission, this now will be forwarded to the city council, which will also be a public forum as well. So when will that be?
Yes, there will be a public hearing in front of the city council on December 15th. That will take place at 6 o'clock. I'm sorry, on December 15th in this room.
Okay. Thank you for coming this evening. We are. With that part of the meeting. Yes, thank you. Under other business, we have any environmental quality commission reports, Michael?
Yes, the commission drafted and sent to the city a recommendation on the trash contract to include in scope of services current recycling efforts and to expand those efforts if possible. And we also looked at information mailer that went out, I think just recently, about recycling opportunities in the city. That's my report.
Okay. Continuing to work on the trash issue. Yep. Well, as always, we appreciate you taking your time out to go to those meetings and putting input for the community. Next, we need to adopt a meeting schedule for next year. It's that time already. Ann has provided us with the meeting schedule. Did that go out in our packet? Hopefully everybody besides myself has had a chance to look at that. I guess with that, is there any concerns about any of the dates?
Do we have to schedule around Eric's first anniversary?
Doesn't fall on that day. I have no summer vacation plans as of yet.
You're never going to live that down, by the way.
I know, but it was worth it.
Well, good. We're glad you said that, and that's on record. You can let your wife watch this. Yeah. With that being said, I think Ann would like us to make a motion to approve the meeting schedule for next year, 2015.
I'd move we approve the 2015 meeting schedule.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Is there anything else? Eric, city staff.
Just to mention that we do plan on having a meeting in December. I know that sometimes gets awful close to the holiday season. Let's see, when is it? December 11th, I believe. Yeah, December 11th. So hopefully a little bit earlier in the season, won't conflict with holiday plans too much. But I wanted to mention that we are planning to have a meeting.
Do we currently have some applications and things, or?
Yes, we have one application.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Anything else from the rest of the staff? Nope. Anything from the commissioners? Thank you guys for coming, everyone, and I declare the meeting adjourned.